What's up, guys? Welcome back to Eastgate Exchange, the podcast all about electric skateboards, MBoards, electric skateboard events, just really the industry in general. And Jacob, thank you for being here once again. This is episode 85? 85. So anyways,
Ocho Cinco.
Thank you guys for spending your Saturday with us. Really appreciate it. We've got a quick show today. Again, we're trying to aim for that between 30 and 40 minutes. Last week we ran a little long, but be prepared for that, I guess. Again, it just continues to happen. Usually every week we like to start out with just quick MBoards updates, which I don't really have any MBoards updates from last week. I mean, we just did this last week, so we talked about all the MBoards happenings. Nothing
October is a weird time for us, so the industry sort of slows down. We all start prepping for Black Friday. So you have things like that, but that means we start new projects.
Mostly new things start happening in October.
I've probably cooked up 4 new projects this week that I say new projects, right? They're just like these ideas you have. You have this idea and you go, I wonder if that's possible. And that usually turns into, hey, Mike, have you ever heard of this? And he just looks at me like, I have no idea what you're talking about, bro. And then like 15 minutes goes by and I'm like, dude, you will never imagine what I just found. And next thing you know, we kind of like go down this little rabbit hole of something that maybe works for what we're doing. Maybe it gives us inspiration for a new part, a new idea, whatever it is. So
yeah, we've got a lot of stuff in the works right now. What's annoying right now is we actually have a lot of stuff in the works, and we're waiting on outside people for a lot of it. So it's really frustrating that a lot of our stuff isn't done yet, but it is what it is. We will keep pressing on.
Keep on rolling, baby.
So our next what do we want to call it, segment is Eastgate News, where anything that's new that's going on in the industry. Now there's probably more news we're getting to this week. But we're just kind of getting back into the scheme of things here with the podcast. So we have our eyes and ears open again now for new news. And this one actually just popped up right as we sat down, really.
Yeah,
so
when I woke up this morning.
Yeah, so this is the Evolve 97 street wheels. They're new ones. What are they called?
Super Grip.
They're Super Grip.
Evolve Super Grip.
I'm surprised they're not like restricted after the end of that one or something. TM. Super Grip TM.
Oh, Mike, stop it.
But yeah, so they came out with new wheels. Let's see. It is what to report about them.
So they stuck with their 97 millimeter, which
they are 97 millimeters.
You know, they're kind of the traditional skate brand, the most traditional skate brand probably out of all of us. Which is cool. So they stuck with that. They got the cool colors, the transparent urethane formula, but they have this like cool new design.
Yeah, so you'll see in this picture here that it's got a dual core design or whatever you want to call it. It's got an internal like filler of a different
it's like a wheel inside of a wheel.
Yeah, it's different.
It'd be kind of funny, like if you wear down all of the orange part and you just ride the white part, then what happened? You know, I wonder if they did that as a test or anything. That'd be kind of cool. But
what am I trying to say? The hardness? What's the
durometer?
Yes, thank you.
The duro.
The durometer. So it's a dual durometers design. So the outside
seems cool.
The outside is 76. And then the inside is 55.
55, which is wild. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, like, does the 55 act as like a dampening core? Will it kind of absorb over rocks and things like that?
Right.
There's been a few videos, of course. Maddie dropped a video. I happened to talk to Fred a little bit about them.
Okay. Did he give any insight that we're allowed to share?
I wouldn't say a whole lot at this point. He's got a video coming out.
Sure.
So I surely would not want to, get in the way of that. But he seemed to like him. So he's a street guy. He rides all of the wheels. He's got a massive collection.
So Fred, Eastgate Unity, for anyone who doesn't know him by his first name.
Eastgate Unity.
He's definitely a street wheel guy.
Yeah, he gave me a few little quickies, and it sounds like they've made something, cool. So cool. The big question is, do they hold up?
Are they going to delaminate?
Right. Like,
are they going to be?
You got a wheel on a wheel. We've seen this from multiple companies, and just Eastgate in general is so much harder on wheels. Yeah. That will they stand up? Yes, I'm sure they tested the shit out of them.
I'm sure they did.
See their videos. The guys are riding them hard. But, Australia, we talked about this. They seem to have the most beautiful roads.
Yeah.
Greg, any of you guys watching, like, Please
chime in, but it seems like your roads are beautiful.
Your guys' roads are ridiculous. Every single one, whether it's a path, a street. Now, of course, this could just be for video and maybe everything.
Yeah, everyone goes to the nicer spots to film.
I can see why you can get away with street wheels everywhere you go.
Yeah, for us, there's no way here.
No,
there's no way.
No.
But this led us to this whole new wheel dropping. It kind of led us down the path of like wheel size because we were kind of surprised to see another 97 millimeter offering from Evolve. I mean, surprised but not surprised, right? It's not surprised because it's Evolve and they kind of stick with their core.
They don't really jump on the trend.
They do not do the trendy stuff.
No,
yeah, they're in their own lane and they do what they want to do. But we were just talking about just different wheel sizes in general and like the battle of like what we're calling the battle of the big wheel.
Yeah,
big wheels, not big tires, right? Big street wheels, so big urethane
specifically too. I think is kind of something we're touching.
Yeah, so urethane. So then we were just like, what's considered a big wheel now? Like, because now that definition has changed over the years. Because like, we all used to ride. I mean, should we get into it? Should we get into like the history of Eastgate here?
Dive it in.
So
this is such a funny one.
Just a white background. You've died and gone to heaven. Now let's look at all the wheels that are there, right? So now
they're all waiting for
we all started out literally.
This is like the only place I can ride street wheels will be in heaven because I'm not going to worry about crashing. I'm going to ride no pads, no helmet, probably just butt naked.
Honestly,
heaven,
just flapping around
on some cags, doing 40 miles an hour, just yelling free bird, drinking me some cranberry juice, baby. No, I don't know about that.
So we also, it's crazy to think about it though. We all started with like 80 millimeter wheels. Right. And then like, oh my gosh, 85s. They're huge. They look, they're awesome.
Roll over any cracks.
Yeah. And then eventually like,
because we're venturing outside of, downhill longboard. So by the time we hit the 85, we were already like, okay, Eastgate has to have its own wheel.
Right.
The 85s, albeit, have a Kegel cord, they weren't made for Eastgate.
Right.
Still just a regular skateboard wheel. Longboard, free ride kind of wheel.
Exactly. So 97 97 I feel like held for a while. Yeah. That was the size for a really, really long time. Right. Clearly, again, like we said, Evolve's been rocking 97s for probably
Abex been doing them forever.
Almost since their inception.
They were probably the first big wheel company in like free ride downhill. Now somebody else can probably
confirm or deny that, but
I don't know the history of free ride and downhill and just
that's a little bit beyond our scope. We probably should know more history about it, but
so I think they were probably the ones that really pushed the bigger wheel first. Now, we'll see.
Yeah,
we know it wasn't loaded because they jumped big time.
Yeah. So, again, there are more wheels here in each size category than we're showing. These are just the wheels that come to mind when I think of each of these sizes. So just keep that in mind. So now we're at like what I feel like is a standard size wheel for electric skateboarding at this point is a 105.
Right.
What do you think about that? So to me, I think 105 is standard, 97 is small.
97 is what
like
you'd almost look and say, maybe you think cheap, you think lower quality because the brands that we now follow with these bigger wheels don't make the smaller ones. Abex has pretty much disappeared. Evolve has the name on the 107s.
Abex was in a position to like probably take over the electric skateboard world, and they just like
they might have looked at it and just said, "Look, not a big enough market, not enough for us to focus on," which is fine. But
perhaps that's true.
I think at worst case they could have been just the supplier that everybody would have gone to.
Right. At least they would have the OEM. They could have been an OEM potentially.
That's probably the wheels we would have, or would have had for our first 97s had.
So speaking of Abex, so now that brings me to like the 107.
The 107s, they've been around forever. 2018, they've been around.
Yeah. So, but to me though, I think 107 is starting to get into like what we think is big, but
that was a huge wheel.
I think I think anything over 105, in my opinion, is a big wheel to me.
Yeah.
Then next, moving on, we have the 111s, which look ridiculous in person. They are huge wheels. And
by
the way,
a unicorn wheel.
Yeah.
So, again, and not one you just see that often.
By the way, this graphic is to scale. I spent a lot of time doing the pixel counting, and they are to scale. So just keep that in mind. So now we've got the Cloud Wheel 120, the Discovery 120 wheel, which is also just a massive wheel when you look at it in person.
Which these really mess with people's heads because you bought a 120, you bought what you thought was a urethane wheel, that, okay, it had this foam core. You go out expecting 30, 35 miles as advertised on a urethane wheel, and that didn't happen.
No.
You got your same range that you did on your all-terrains, or maybe
it is
a few more miles. Yeah, like I noticed it was really bad. I think the heavier you were, the worse the drop was, because we were like, I was really compressing that foam core.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know, whereas maybe if you're a little lighter, like again,
well, I don't think it's a secret. Like we're not massive fans of the Discovery. Now, I do like Cloud Wheels in general as a brand. I'm just saying as the all-terrain Discovery wheel with the grooved like
new
tread
ones,
on
we
it.
haven't tried the new ones yet.
I don't love that one just because the contact patch ends up being like 20 millimeters. It's very, very small. So we got a lot of guys reporting slips and stuff. They just break traction really easily.
They took 100 miles or so of hard riding to
finally wear them down. But then by then, it's like you should just go get the 105 that they have now.
Or the new ones
or
that they now have. Which
the new 110.
Just the same, they have the 120, but it's just a flat profile.
Oh, do they really?
So they basically just
I'm learning something new now.
the wheel. So yeah.
Okay.
We need
so just get that one.
We need to try those.
Yeah, I do. I have not tried those officially. So. Okay, and then that brings us to what Mad Wheels is about to drop eventually. I don't know when their release date is,
right?
But they're working on a 125, which is just, I mean, again, it sounds like it's only 5 millimeters, but it's going to be huge, and they're probably going to be quite heavy. That's another thing that we're not really focusing on here is the weight of all these things. Urethane's heavy, dude.
And that's
urethane's
something
really
you do have to
heavy.
take into account. So, sorry, I'm a little far away. I had a nice chat with a gentleman that has been in the skate industry, mostly downhill, with a very prominent company for years, like 30 years. Dude is so damn smart. Talking to him like blew my mind, right? So
what are we talking about?
The guy,
the
guy with the guy, the guy over at Seismic.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a guy over at Seismic.
Got
He's
it.
a really good dude. Yeah, really good dude. Seismic's a great company. Support them. Look, they have the only 10 millimeter built-in spacer bearings. So if you really want a high-quality bearing, go get them from Seismic. Don't ask us. We don't have them. I don't know how to find them. We cannot make them. Go buy them from Seismic. They're great dudes. But anyways, we talked about like wheel efficiency. And he said basically at 100 millimeters, you lose all of the benefit of a urethane wheel as far as the efficiency and all of the advantages.
I 100%
right?
believe
He
that.
says it just goes out the door. Sure. Is your range more? Great? Yes. But your board is not performing nearly as well as it should be. Right? It just doesn't. And so guys that have ridden them, sure, you'll tell me I'm wrong, but it is true. Like your efficiency goes down with these larger wheels. So, at some point we have to look at it and say, well, how big are these going to go?
I can't. So we keep saying this. I'm sure when the 105s came out, we were like, oh, there's no way they'll get any bigger than that. Actually.
You got one here? Yeah.
Here, I got a 105 right here. It's not a Mad Wheel, but it is a
we got one of those over
bod.
here too. I had one.
We might have stolen them actually to put on the board. They were up here in the front of our display, but hey.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They were right over there.
Yeah. So like
rosy.
they get.
I mean,
when this came out, I was like, that's it, man. Like there's no
we have
move.
a 6-inch down here.
A 6-inch tire?
Yeah, it's damn near the size of a 6-inch tire. Here's
a Sunmate. I don't know. We just have them still, but yeah, it's.
Don't judge us.
It's very. These are just leftover, man.
I don't know.
No one's buying them. They're all buying the Novas. They're just leftover stock.
As close, but
it gets really close.
It's
though.
Close. And they're getting closer, right?
But the weight, though, this is lighter than this.
125 is even bigger than that.
Hubbed up with a tube and everything. It's lighter than a urethane wheel. Yeah. So like, there's that too.
Put some helium in it. It's even lighter.
Oh gosh. Sure. Technically, yes, it would be lighter.
I wonder why. Should we try helium? That'd be cool.
God. I mean, supposaly it works in cars, but I'm not sure I buy that.
Nitrogen, isn't it?
Oh, is it nitrogen? Yeah. Maybe you're right. It's nitrogen.
So Mad Wheels does. Mad Wheels is a 125. Yes, there's another one on the market that's in that size. The radium wheels, but they don't classify as urethane. So they specifically mention that they're sort of in between urethane and an all-terrain. But it's a rubber compound. So that's why we're not talking about that one.
Yeah.
So don't get mad at us.
None of these sizes include rubber. Because I know there's a 115 rubber, like Onsra in between there. There's a 125 radium wheel.
Right.
So
the torque board wheel, which unfortunately just
didn't make the cut for me.
Yeah, and it's seen its demise. These are the big ones.
Yeah,
right?
those
These
are the
main ones, and it really just shows the progression. And ultimately, what does that mean? Like, what has it done to skating? I think the street wheel it ultimately has followed the direction of an all-terrain, right? So because our batteries have gotten bigger, the wheels can get bigger.
Efficiency isn't as important
Everything
anymore.
is more powerful. A 14S board is going to turn one of these 125s like it's nothing.
Oh,
it
no
doesn't
problem.
even care anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the voltages that we're running, it's not the same, right?
Yeah.
Everything is progressed. So
what I will say though is the boosted board back then with the lower power electronics, they were ready to rock the 105s.
They were pushing 105s.
So
they were rocking it hard.
They were comfortable with that size on their board.
They had something figured out, right? So gear ratio, whatever it was, there was enough juice, but it took a while for everybody else to catch up. And the bigger OEMs, the bigger wheel companies just didn't really follow suit.
Right.
These have all been boutique new companies, small brands that I guess have taken the risk and said, let's try something. Let's do something different.
Right.
So it's cool to see.
I want to show you this though. Here,
this is the good one.
You guys ready? Now again, this is to scale, right? Here we go. Boom. That's where we started. So that's the 80 millimeters we all rode.
That's crazy.
And that's what the 125 is going to look like next to it. And like,
That's
again,
so
that is to scale. Like we made sure
and
we
this
counted
has
the
allowed
pixels.
us to go from a 12 or a 10.4 on the right to a 12.8 on the left and still have plenty of clearance.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
You know?
the endurance only exists because of these bigger wheels,
Because of
honestly.
the big wheels. Yeah.
If we were still rocking these 80s, we
can't.
We have. we have put
That
80
was
millimeter
funny.
wheels on an endurance and it does work.
It's a cool
She's
ride.
a low rider that for sure.
You can flick that thing around on those.
Oh,
wheels.
and that thing's
It's
torquey
so
as
heavy.
hell
Yeah,
too.
and it's so heavy. As soon as you started,
yeah.
not that I'm into sliding. It's not me. It was James.
Oh yeah. Speaking of James, he did a really good job.
Yeah, speaking of James, it's a good lead into our next segue. Right?
Yeah. So we
Cool.
do have upcoming events. We just want to remind everybody again really quick that we've got upcoming events here.
These are just general Eastgate events that we know about that actually probably more racing than anything.
Most of it's racing. Yeah, so we got TEF November 26th, Micromobility November. Oh, I should have put that one first. Well, they were supposed to be in order. Either way.
It's all good.
Micromobility November 14th to the 15th. AVS is November 30th to December 1st. And then Eastgate Con will be March/April to be announced.
Yeah, I think last week we said that we would be at Micromobility and we're not going to make it.
I don't think so.
I have an anniversary coming up.
Oh,
that apparently
I see.
my wife had booked a big old weekend. So when I told her, I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to be in SoCal on Thursday and Friday, blah, blah, blah. She looked at me and gave me that look, right? I got the look. And so I was like, shit. What did I do?
Uh-oh.
What happened? And so I was like, all right, figure this out. So about an hour in, I'm like, check my calendar. Maybe it's on the calendar. Boom, there it is. I'm like, oh God, it's been here the whole time.
Of course on the calendar.
This thing was
Your
added
wife's
like
calendar,
probably months ago.
I'm sure.
But it's my
anyone's
work
gonna do-
calendar and my personal calendar. They don't show up at the same time. So I default usually to like my work calendar because I'm at work all day. And then I get alerts from her and I'm like, oh yeah, it's on the calendar. Cool, thanks, babe. Like, it helps, but so I made a boo-boo. And Mike's not going to go alone because that would just be stupid.
Yeah, my wife's already killing me with the work and the kids and all that. She's not really.
So we're going to go next year. We're going to do it next year. We're going to do it maybe even a little bigger. We were just going to be judges and I think you were maybe going to speak, but I think maybe we'll actually present. We'll have something cool.
Yeah. So we had a user submitted question about waterproofing boards.
We did.
So what do we? So the basic question was like, just how do we ride in the rain?
Yeah, I think he was kind of asking, has there been any advancement in waterproofing boards? And I would say, is there any advancement? No, because
we can waterproof
it's
things.
extremely difficult to waterproof, 100% electronics, but there's always going to be that 1%.
So what we did see at CES actually this year, I'm actually very intrigued by it. It's like a Nano X coating that you coat electronics in it, and like it's very cool. Like it's a clear coat that you like spray out. I think you actually submerge the the speed controllers, even battery packs they were doing. You submerge it in there for like a little while, and then it dries on. I think they bake it on at like 100 degrees, like really low, like very low, but it was like a warm air type thing, and at CES, they had this full-size like flat screen TV with the whole back cover on it, playing a video, and then they were just back there just spraying water all into the motherboard and everything. Super cool.
Yeah,
and I do think like if you really wanted to do that, like I don't think that material is like available like to the end consumers. I think it's more commercial type stuff.
It's available to us, though.
It is available to us. We could buy it. It sounded relatively kind of expensive. It sounded like it would cost like $20 to $30 per speed controller or something like that.
Right.
And I do think that it is cool. I just don't know, like, will it last forever? Like, I don't know.
Right. How will it do under heat?
They claim that the thermals weren't too bad or weren't affected. I can't remember the exact. It's been a long time. CES was like February or March or something.
It's only 7 months ago, but yeah,
I know, but
it seems like a long
but
time.
I can't remember now. But anyways, it was very cool though. I think it's Nano Flow X. I think is what it's called.
And Cooler had like a battery sort of similar tech.
Cooler,
that they were
KULR.
Yeah, those are cool dudes. Could we just dunk a whole battery?
Hey, you could, if you want to pot your enclosure.
I mean, yeah, what you have to do everything. It's the hard part. So you have to do the charge port. You got to do the power button. You are better off just a bathtub of all of this and just take the whole board and just drop it in.
What?
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, just do it all at once.
Do what?
Your whole board in the thing.
Oh, just submerge
and then
the whole board?
It's literally waterproof. Your wheels are waterproof.
Oh, I feel you.
Yeah, because it wouldn't work. No, I'm joking.
Because your motors are, I feel like your motors are, brushless motors are the hard, people, they think about that the most, I feel like, because they're right next to the ground. Brushless motors are actually relatively water resistant.
They
like
are
naturally.
I mean,
just naturally, they just are, which is very interesting.
They're not rust proof. So
no,
if
they're
you
not.
get them wet, they're probably going to get rusted. And
they're not, I'm not saying they're waterproof. I'm not saying that they won't act up with a lot of water in them.
Right.
However, people ride their boards in the rain all the time.
It's generally not the physical can of the motor. It's your connection. So the water has made its way from the motor down the wire in through the little dingleberry hole in the back of your board. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't do that on camera. Did you see what I was doing? That was bad.
Good God.
It's okay. Canceled. It's all good. And that's usually where the water's getting in. So it gets in through those connections. And then pop goes the weasel, and there goes your ESC. If you just take your motor and connect it and literally drop it in water, it's totally fine. It'll just spin.
It does work.
Spin. Yeah. I mean, that's what they do.
So,
but it's like, again, it's everything else that sucks.
I guarantee you, this dude lives in like what, Seattle or something,
somewhere,
or the UK probably,
or the UK. All of the water boards come from the UK.
Yeah, it's insane.
And there's there are a few companies that are pushing certain levels of waterproof and things like that,
water resistance.
But I would
IP
say
ratings.
as being on the other side of the fence, handling
doing all the service,
people always find a way, and
so does water.
Yeah,
water
so does water.
Water finds a way.
It's one thing to ride through a puddle and say, "Oh,
whoops,
my board got wet and it turned off." Like, oh, you rode through a puddle? That was it? Like, that's bad. You don't want that. I had that happen on my Evolve GTX. I rode through a puddle that I didn't think was bad at all. Boom, toast.
Done.
Yeah, I was like, what just happened?
Yeah. But riding through heavy pouring rain is a totally different animal, dude. That's a lot more water.
Correct. Or like, I was riding and I lost control and my board went in the pond.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah,
I've had that story. My wife's board went in a river once. Luckily,
that's
didn't land. Half of it went in the water. The non-electronics
part
of it. Yeah,
nice.
The front half, and it was like upside down. So it was like the deck and the trucks and things. But I freaked out because I knew there was a creek down there. I figured the thing was just toast.
Right.
If you submerge your shit, it's I'm sorry.
But like riding in, I can't imagine actually wanting to ride on wet pavement. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
Even my board. Take the question of, is my board going to be okay out of it? Like, just a safety part of it. It sounds so sketchy.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I would maybe take a carbon fiber over a bottom mounted enclosure. I would take a top mount over a bottom mount. Yes,
I would take a carbon fiber deck 100% every time if I'm going for water resistance, just because there's way less inlet, way less ways, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The thing where the water gets
there's less areas of ingress.
And okay, if it does get wet, as soon as you're in a situation, it's dry, you're undercover,
open it up.
Just take the damn lid off, or take the enclosure out and let it dry. Let everything dry.
Yeah.
Get your bearings, dry everything out so those don't rust. You don't want that water to sit. The worst thing that can happen is even if, let's say, water doesn't necessarily get into your enclosure, if there is moisture in and around it, there's temperature being created, there's heat. from that
condensation in there.
You get the condensation, and that shit never leaves. It has no way to get out.
Right.
It drops, it turns into water, and again, pop goes the weasel. Like, you don't want that to happen. And in that situation, most people say, I don't understand. I've never ridden through water. Okay, maybe I got the board wet like 2 weeks ago. Ding, 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 light bulb.
There we go. And then we open it up, and it's full of
and you can just see
salt,
it.
dude.
You can see it.
I'm like,
and
dude.
It's like, yeah, man, nice try, bub.
You rode this thing to the ocean, bro.
What else we got?
That's all I have official. That's all I have official. So if we have anything else we want to talk about, we can.
Well, we have some new trucks sitting here, so I know
we
talked about
we did talk about these new ones.
I thought I'd bring these out today. Last week we had the tires on the table. Today we have these.
They're super shiny.
Maybe we'll just like randomly put some parts on the table and see.
Every
if
week
you
we'll
guys
do something different.
Recognize. Maybe we'll do like there'll be like a little hidden something. So
there we
you
go.
guys can recognize.
So before this comes out, will say we will be posting a link for like submissions for questions of the week, and we'll do a link to submit your badass build of the week. We haven't done those in a while.
And okay, so sorry we did not. We didn't even reference the guy's name.
Which guy?
That we got the question.
Oh, do you have his name?
I mean, I can look it up, but at least we'll reference.
Yeah,
you
moving forward, we'll be able to have your
super
name, and
official,
it'll have
so
like a little graphic on the screen and all
maybe
that.
I can find it.
But
Don't
you
mind
just
me while I'm on my phone.
You mentioned it just
I'm
before we
very
sat down, but
I did. I was like, we should talk about this.
Yeah, but
So
to answer the question,
we did answer it.
We did answer it. Yeah, it's just not great.
So this was from Charlie Solo 10.
Okay. Oh, it's part of it was in one of our comments.
Yes, bro. Because we said in the last video, if you leave a question in the comment, we're very active, and we'll question. And then here we are. We're like, oh shit, we got to look at the.
Anything else that's good in there?
So, although there's another one about increasing the turning radius of a 2.0, he's moved the. Sorry, this is DB-HM7MU. Not sure what all that means.
What a name!
I don't know. Where you guys come up with these? Whatever happened to just like your first name dot last name or something like, that would be simple. I moved the truck's base plate to most turnable position and loosened my bushings, but the turning radius still feels absolutely huge, almost unstable outside of very wide roads.
Unstable.
Wait,
so you're saying it's unstable but also having a wide turning radius at the same time? That doesn't work. Those go kind of hand in hand.
Right. So I think he's just referencing that he's probably hitting his max limits of what an RKP can handle.
Or he needs to soften up his bushings. He might need softer bushings.
It sounds like he's got them loose, but maybe just needs an actual grade down. So there are some complexities that come with RKPs, right? And there's the two main factors are the functionality, right? They simply do not have the turning radius of a DKP.
Never will.
You have to get this out of your heads. DKPs are very specific for what they do. They fit into a very specific board and segment range, right? But as boards have increased past 30 miles an hour, those trucks have got to go.
They do.
Because the stories and the things you hear are just too fucking scary.
It's funny because it's the same guys who complain about the turning radius will be the first to complain about the stability at high speed. You don't get both.
So that is one of the inherent things of RKPs is that they simply do not have the turning radius of a DKP. They are much more stable, just like he references, at higher speeds. The other thing is the actual bushing hardness. Typically on DKP, because of the stack setup, you have more agility, so you need more support. So we run a higher durometer on those bushings.
Oh, on DKPs, yeah.
We were running 96, 93. I've always ridden at least 95 on DKPs.
Right.
Anything less than that, if you're past 2 threads on your kingpin, your bushings are too soft.
Simple.
That's it. Once you've made that first sort of compression, if you're past 2 threads, your bushings are too soft. You need to replace those.
Right.
You need to go something harder.
Yeah.
And if you've gotten to the max hardness, then you've hit your limitations
of that truck.
Yeah.
Or angle. Truck angle.
Or angle. So
but then in turn, in comparison with the RKPs, we're running what kind of durometers?
Lower. So you're at like 93, 90 to start out. And that's also with sort of stable, the more stable settings. Mm-hmm. So if you drop down from that 87, 90, that's a big jump in durometer. And with RKPs, your slight, like a quarter turn on your T-tool is a big adjustment.
Yeah.
Whereas on a
DKP,
you're talking, you need a whole revolution to do anything.
Yeah.
They're different on RKPs.
And with the Riptide bushings, they're very reactive. They respond very well to being compressed. So if you're again, like you said, if you're spinning that T-tool around a bunch of times,
Right.
we got to start looking at different durometers for
Nothing
sure.
else, homie.
That's it. All
Somebody
right.
recommended a wheel balancer, but we got one of those.
Cool. His name's Joe.
Professional wheel balancer.
No, that's cool though.
I love his wheel
That's cool.
balancing days. He just stacks them up to the roof and just sits there all day and just
Spins wheels.
flicks it and just sits there and watches the wheel spin. I'm like, how you doing, bro?
Yeah,
Good.
right.
Just balancing some wheels. All right, I think it's lunchtime.
I think it's
we did
lunchtime
good.
too.
That was better.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed
Cool.
the show.
Good show, dude.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next week with hopefully a badass build of the week.
Yeah.
Check the show notes
let's
down
get
below.
that back.
Definitely upload your submissions so we can, play our favorite song that some
What's
random.
the best way for them to submit a build?
So I'm going to put a brand new form down below
Okay.
that has areas where they can upload all their stuff.
Okay.
So a link down below for that.
And do your best to follow the instruction because that all goes into what we talk about.
Yep.
Makes
Makes the show better.
There's been some submissions where it's like we get 50 pictures and then like 3 lines of words. I'm like, I have no idea what this thing is. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know the story. There's usually a better story than there is a build, right? You build these badass boards, not just because like, I had all these parts laying around, so I decided just to build this really badass board. Like, that's not usually how it goes. You have inspiration. There's something that kind of led you down that road.
Mm-hmm.
That's the story we want to tell. We'll show everybody the board.
Oh yeah.
I want to
for
look
sure.
at it. I want to know, what's on it. But we want to know the story, man.
Cool.
Or girl.
All right,
Or lady.
we will. We'll leave you guys with that. Hopefully, you guys can, can contribute to the show as much as you can. And we will see you guys next week.
See you guys.
See ya.